You want to know what the greatest game of all time is? Sonic Generations. Well, it would be if not for one big issue, one major problem that gatekeeps it from the pinnacle of gaming. That problem is the character statues. In Sonic Generations, you go through various new levels based on old zones from Sonic's past, like Green Hill Zone from Sonic 1, Speed Highway from Sonic Adventure, and Crisis City from Sonic 06. Now, the reason you're doing this is because this time monster man captured all of Sonic's friends and turned them into these statues. By completing the 2 levels in each zone, one as Classic Sonic and one as Modern Sonic, you can restore your friends back to life. Each zone that you finish will restore one character. By completing Green Hill Zone, you save Tails. By completing Chemical Plant, Amy is saved. By completing Sky Sanctuary, Knuckles is saved. By completing Speed Highway, Cream is saved. By completing City Escape, Rouge is saved. By completing Seaside Hill, Espio is saved. By completing Crisis City, Blaze is saved. By completing Rooftop Run, Vector is saved. And by completing Planet Wisp, Charmy is saved. Now, all of this is fine and good. Psych, no it isn't. Now, you're probably asking, what's the big issue? What's got you so upset? Well, it's the characters they chose to represent each zone. Some of the characters make complete sense, but others just don't. It sucks because Sonic Generations would be perfect. It'd be a 10 out of 10 game, but they just messed up the character selection. Let's start with the classic era. Tails is the first character we saved from Green Hill Zone. Doesn't it make more sense to have him be the character we saved from Chemical Plant? I mean, Sonic 2 was the game that Tails debuted in. The character that we do save from Chemical Plant is Amy, and this doesn't really make sense either. Amy debuted in Sonic CD, not Sonic 2. The first one that actually makes sense is Knuckles, who represents Sky Sanctuary. Sky Sanctuary is from Sonic 3 and Knuckles, the game that Knuckles debuted in. That is cool. Now, we move on to the adventure era, the first stage being Speed Highway from Sonic Adventure. The character representing this stage is Cream the Rabbit. Cream debuted in Sonic Advance 2. That game doesn't even have a stage in this game. Why is she the choice for Speed Highway from Sonic Adventure? Next is City Escape from Sonic Adventure 2, and this stage is represented by Rouge the Bat. Okay, this is another character that makes sense. Rouge first debuted in Sonic Adventure 2. This is a perfect fit. Next up is Seaside Hill from Sonic Heroes, and this stage is represented by Espio. Now, Espio didn't debut in Sonic Heroes. No, he debuted in Knuckles Chaotix. But this character choice actually makes a lot of sense because Team Chaotix, consisting of Vector, Charmy, and Espio, for many years were MIA from the Sonic franchise. Espio did get to come back in one more game, Sonic the Fighters, but besides that, the whole team just vanished. However, their big comeback was in Sonic Heroes, so I think choosing Espio to represent this game is a good choice. Next, we move on to the, at the time, modern era of Sonic, with the first level being Crisis City from Sonic 06. The character rep for this stage is Blaze the Cat from Sonic Rush, and like the Espio pick before, even though Blaze didn't debut in the game that she represents, the choice does actually make some amount of sense. Blaze played a substantial role in the game as the best friend of the new major character introduced in that game, Silver the Hedgehog. Blaze also dies in that game, something that doesn't really happen often in Sonic, so I think it was a decent idea to use her for this stage. Our next stage is Rooftop Run from Sonic Unleashed, and the character they chose to represent this game is Vector, the crocodile. Yeah, I've got nothing for this stage. Even for some of the past stages where the character choices didn't make much sense, I could at least see some reasoning behind it. With Tails, Tails is Sonic's best friend, so it makes sense to save him in the first zone, Green Hill Zone, since it's the first stage. Tails is also the smart guy that figures stuff out, so getting him into the mix as soon as possible from a narrative perspective is understandable. Also, technically Green Hill was in 8-bit Sonic 2, and the 8-bit version of Sonic 2 actually does predate the 16-bit version of Sonic 2, making 8-bit Sonic 2 the first time that Tails appears in a Sonic game. So picking him for Green Hill Zone actually does make some sense. For Amy, her debut game was Sonic CD, not Sonic 2, but Sonic 2 and Sonic CD do have a lot of connections with one another, as both games were being worked on at the same time for a portion of their development, and they were both designed as sequels to the original Sonic 1, so while it is kind of a stretch admittedly, I can kind of see it. With Cream, choosing her to represent Sonic Adventure makes no sense, as she wouldn't appear in the franchise until a few years later. However, it does make a very teeny tiny bit of sense if you consider that Cream's first appearance in a 3D Sonic game and her first appearance in a mainline Sonic game was actually in Sonic Adventure DX, an updated version of the original Sonic Adventure. She has cameos in multiple different character campaigns in the game. The Knuckles, Espio, and Blaze picks were pretty reasonable, so Vector is the first pick that gives me nothing to work with. Vector doesn't even appear in Sonic Unleashed. He isn't even mentioned in Sonic Unleashed. Let's move on. Our next and final character is Charmy B, who represents Planet Wisp from Sonic Colors. Now, to a lot of you, choosing Charmy for Sonic Colors makes no sense. He didn't even appear in that game. Except, what if I told you he actually did appear in Sonic Colors? He appeared in the DS version of Sonic Colors, and you meet him on Planet Wisp. So this is actually not a bad pick. Although, as a whole, you can see that a lot of these character choices are weird. To be fair to the devs, it is hard to pick a rep for some of the games, like Sonic 1 for example. The only major characters in that game were Sonic and Eggman, so you really don't have any options. You can't not include Amy in the game, she's too important to the Sonic mythos. But she also doesn't really fit as a rep for any of the zones. Cream doesn't play a significant role in any of the mainline Sonic games except for Sonic Heroes. Espio took up the Sonic Hero spot, so both Cream and Vector are kind of screwed on that front. One solution is they could have just included more characters. Big the Cat would have been perfect for Speed Highway, Princess Elise makes the most sense for Crisis City, and Chip fits for Rooftop Run. All three of those characters debuted in the games that their stages came from. Obviously, because of story stuff, it would be tricky to justify Elise and Chip coming back, but I mean, the whole game is about time being messed up, so I mean, it could work. But you know, just bringing in new characters, that'd be too easy. So you know what I'm gonna do? Using only the 9 characters that the game already uses as representatives, Tails, Amy, Knuckles, Cream, Rouge, Espio, Blaze, Vector, and Charmy, I'm going to rearrange the stages they're assigned to in order to make them fit better with the game that they're representing. So for example, to start with, I'm going to assign Tails to Chemical Plant Zone. Tails debuted in Sonic 2, so this of course makes the most sense. I'm going to assign Amy to Speed Highway. Putting Amy somewhere was difficult, but I think Speed Highway fits her best out of all of the characters, as Sonic Adventure was the first time Amy was playable in a mainline Sonic game, so Sonic Adventure is actually pretty significant to her. Knuckles is going to stay where he's at. I think Sky Sanctuary fits him perfectly. Cream doesn't fit well with any of the levels outside of Seaside Hill from Sonic Heroes, but I don't think she fits there as well as any of the Chaotix do, so I'm going to move her to Rooftop Run. I know, it sounds crazy, and it is, but it does make a little bit of sense. Watch this. What was the most important part of Sonic Unleashed? The Werehog? No. The boost gameplay? No. Traveling all around the world? No. The most important part of Sonic Unleashed was the ice cream. The central character of that game, Chip, got his name because he loved chocolate chip sundae supremes. Sundaes are a type of ice cream, so the logical thing is to make Cream the representative for Rooftop Run from Sonic Unleashed. Rouge is going to stay where she's at, Espio is going to stay where he's at, and Blaze is going to stay where she's at. That leaves us with 2 stages left and 2 characters left. We have Green Hill and Planet Wisp, ironically enough the first and last zones of the game. And we have Vector and Charmy, 2 members of Team Chaotix. I'm going to let Charmy stay where he's at Planet Wisp, and let Vector be the rep for Green Hill Zone. Now I know all of you guys are collectively going, what? Vector makes no sense to represent Green Hill Zone from Sonic 1. Well, that's where you're wrong, viewers. If we look at some concept art for Sonic during the development of Sonic 1, we see this one interesting image of Sonic in a band. There's Sonic as the lead singer, Max the Monkey playing the bass guitar, Mach the Rabbit on the drums, Sharps the Parakeet on lead guitar, and what do you know? Who do we see over here on the keyboard? Vector the Crocodile. Technically, Vector didn't appear in Sonic 1, but he did exist in the form of this artwork made during the game's development. So I think making Vector the rep of Sonic 1 and Green Hill Zone makes a lot of sense. Show some respect to Vector because Vector is actually one of the OGs. He was there before Knuckles, before Amy, and even before Tails. But with that out of the way, we're done. We now have the character statues placed in zones that I think better fit each person. Now all we need is for Sega to change the order of the characters in Sonic X Shadow Generations, and that game will automatically be a 10 out of 10 game, the greatest Sonic game ever made. I've got plenty of other Sonic videos in a playlist for you to check out if you're interested, and I've made a lot of other videos too. That's all I've got to talk about for today though, so thanks for watching y'all, and have a great rest of your day.